Oh, come on. I need my internet to work today. Oh, my non-internet, actually. Hey, Hal. Hey, sweetie.
How you doing?
How you do? I'm good. I'm trying to be. I'm
Oh,
trying
I'm
to be
with you.
good anyway. Hey, Stephanie, I love you. Now, I didn't know the last time that you came on with me. I didn't know if you knew how to turn, if you wanted to turn your camera on, if you knew how to.
Well, it is so hot here today that if I turned the camera on, what
Listen,
y'all would see would be a horrible mess.
listen. I wish I didn't have to, and if it wasn't for a filter, I wouldn't have mine on either. Hi, Tamara.
I
How
don't
you
think there's a
doing?
filter strong
Hi.
enough.
Listen, I've got a spray tan for my brother's having a launch party for his company tomorrow night. So my sister-in-law had to spray tan me, and I'm just, that icky, and having to be careful with it or whatever. What y'all ladies doing? How's everything been?
Super
You want to
busy.
go first, Callie?
You go, Tamara. You've got more news than I do, I'm sure.
My week has been quite busy. I've had to fly out away for 2 days, and I got back, but today I spent the day being relaxed and in my pool, getting some sunshine. So it was a good day.
You deserve it. I wish that I
Yes.
could be with you. I do. How was your day and week, Callie?
Oh man, I've just been overwhelmed. I don't know if y'all ever get that way, but I
All the
just
time.
can't seem to catch up, and my brain's a mess.
All the time. All the time.
Girl, Callie, I'm overwhelmed all the time. You should know that.
It's so good to see and to hear from both y'all and to see y'all on here tonight. Everybody wants to hear from the both of you, and I've got a couple other ladies that are going to come up and ask and talk and ask some questions too whenever they get in here. But we can get started whenever y'all are ready. Tamara, did you go on vacation or was it business or pleasure?
It was some secret Chris Skinner mission impossible that I'm not going to talk about, but yes.
Good for you.
Woohoo.
Good for you. That's awesome. Danielle's in here. Danielle, if you want to come up, if you feel good, if you're well rested. Tamara, have you ever spoken to Voices for Justice, Danielle?
I don't think so.
So Callie has. Callie, I've been talking to her. We became friends a while back, and her and Callie have just became acquaintances and friends as well. Danielle has been working on the Gobbles case. Also, my guest. Do you know about the Gobbles?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the go-to for all Gobble information. She has been doing a wonderful job, and she's in here.
And
Awesome.
thank goodness for her leading the charge on that, because it's so important. There's not enough of us, and just she's really been making things happen.
She really has. She is an amazing, amazing soul. Here she is.
Hey everyone.
Hi,
Hey.
sweetheart. How are you? I've talked to you this morning, but how are you right now?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
We're good. Tamara, Danielle, Tamara.
Hey Tamara.
Hi, Danielle. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. I've actually been wanting to have the opportunity to talk to you at some point.
Oh, that's
Oh, well, that's cool.
don't need to talk.
What a cool. So now is the night. Tonight's the night.
Tonight.
Well, that's what this is tonight. Is like talk. Okay.
If that's okay with everyone. I mean, we have a timeline of events, but I mean, I kind of like to just do an open panel and anything. Oh, sorry, I have a Frenchie, and their toots are horrific. Anyway. Whew.
Well, let me say something, Danielle. If you want to connect privately too, you're more than welcome to. You can just, message me on Facebook later if there's anything you don't want to discuss. We can talk about it private if you want.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I might do that.
Okay.
So, but I wanted to like come up and like say, hey, hi, hello. And I guess keep an eye out for gobble ducks.
Okay.
So now, have you told?
Near you. What's that?
Have you told yet?
Yeah. I released the video today.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
So tell everyone what's going on then that might not have seen it.
So, yard signs have been put up throughout Mocksville, and they said justice for the gobbles, and there was a QR code to the Facebook page so that people could read up on it. There was a great reception at first. People loved seeing the signs. It got the whole town talking. I was getting great feedback, and then the signs started going missing. And Greg's family was actually really happy because a friend of mine out there who was helping me took one of the signs and put them on Greg's grave. And they absolutely loved that. And then I got messaged, the other day, they were so upset because that yard sign had been stolen. And
Off the grave.
right, off the grave. And so I thought now's as good a time as any to release the video about the ducks. And, people can drive around Mocksville and they can collect all the yard signs. Well, they haven't yet because a new shipment just arrived there. So there's more, and for every one they take down, 10 more are going to go up. But, they can drive around Mocksville, they can collect up all the yard signs, but they can't go to every state in this country and collect gobble ducks. So
That's amazing. I love it. I do. I love it.
Love it.
She has worked so hard on that case.
Yeah. You and Tamara meeting, Danielle, it's kind of like the Ghostbusters crossing the streams here.
right.
And somebody should be very concerned.
Absolutely. Forces to be reckoned with, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I'm so glad that you got to meet her and that y'all are getting to meet each other. And yeah, y'all do need to reach out. Now, like I said, so Tamara, this is, and Miss Callie knows, like, so the other night when you had come in, we had started off just kind of talking, me and Miss Callie, about, how she got involved in Micah's case, and it kind of led into Chris immediately, and it stayed, which was amazing. And then you came in, which was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, oh my gosh. And we were so thankful to have both you ladies on. And I know that a lot of people have a lot of questions, but kind of what route do you guys want to go tonight? Are you up? And just know if there's any questions asked that you can't answer, we will not think anything. We want, you to have complete control over, anything that you put out. We understand, both of you, we understand. We just want, we want to have a better feel for a couple of things. I know there's some questions that some of me and a couple of ladies had gotten together and thought of that were some of the dynamics that we wanted to ask you about Chris and Susie. But I know there's a lot of people in here that, are so glad that you're here, Tamara, on TikTok too, and that, we can intertwine with you if you're okay with that. However you guys want to handle it tonight. Like, I'm down for whatever. I just want to talk Mr. Chris Skinner.
Hey, I'm good with whatever.
Well, yeah, I'm here for you guys, and anything that, I can't answer, I will let you know, why or how, or I might be able to say why, but I might, respectfully decline. But most part, I'm pretty open because obviously he's my brother and he is awesome. And I like to talk to him about him in the first person because he still is awesome. And
Agreed.
so
Don't
I know that Callie put together something, that she had sent me, and I think she sent you, and we can definitely talk about that as well, or whatever you guys want to
That's
do.
kind of the route I was wanting us to go, because what she sent me, I was like, oh, my mind blown. And so I thought maybe we could. Where did she go? When I looked, this is the Danielle. Did
We
you?
lost Danielle.
Okay, she'll come back. Maybe Danielle, if you're still here, are you okay? She fell. I dropped down. Okay, baby. You two reach out to each other. I know you're tired, Danielle. She's had a long day, a long week. But I would love for us to do it that way. And I know that I got Amanda that was kind of looking over it as well. And Lethal and a couple of others have all looked over, and we've come up with some good questions that come off of that, off of the timeline that you did. But I would love for you ladies to just go to town. Let's do it.
Okay, can I say something real quick before we
After
do?
you say anything you want. Listen, she apologized when the other night. She's like, I feel like I took over your life. Please take over my life.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for saying that. So I just want to say to Danielle myself, since she hopped down. Danielle, if you're still here and listening, I want you to know that the Gobble story is just as important as Chris Skinner and as Micah. And so I want you to know that. So you didn't have to step down, but I understand why you did. But I just wanted you to know you're very important, and you deserve a platform as well. So that's all.
You're a beautiful person, inside and out. I just want to say that, hands down. You and Miss Callie both are, but inside and out, and being Chris's voice and being as strong as you are, I just think y'all are both amazing ladies, and I thank you for saying that. Danielle has worked so hard, like I said, and continues to, and doesn't get the credit that she deserves.
Absolutely. Not easy being a badass.
No, it's not.
Like Danielle and Tamara.
Miss Callie and Tamara, this is Lethal. Have y'all ever heard about Lethal? Okay, so
Now
Lethal,
you're in the chat.
yep, Lethal has been with us for a while as well, and she has been straight justice for Micah since day one. She's from North Carolina, not far from Robinson County. Very intelligent woman, and we all
And
love her.
JP does not like me at all.
Well, anybody with the name Lethal, I love. So
Yeah, he has really sent his minions after me.
Oh my.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
It's lagging, Miss B. So, real quick before we get started, I do not have internet still because of all the rain that South Alabama has gotten, Alabama as a whole. They weren't able to come out here and hook it up. So, all I can say is maybe come in, come back out, come in and come back out. I did not post the last one on YouTube because it was 6 hours and I'm working on doing that. I cannot believe we were live that long, but I will post this one on YouTube if you missed anything. So I'm so sorry that it's lagging in the chat. There she goes. She's back. Okay, so you ladies go ahead. Take it away.
Well, hey, Tamara, it's your story, really. I just try to help tell it.
Well, you know what, Callie? If you could narrate it up, I'll put my commentary in there if you want to talk about your timeline, because I love your voice and it's so peaceful.
I do too.
Oh, thank you. I was in radio for a long time, and I still have the face for it. So
Oh gosh, I can tell that now that you love the you can tell that you were ready, or a good voice for radio.
Well, I started to look back at the timeline when we got, that big old batch from the FOIA request, all the information, all the recordings. So it's something I started to kind of put together and try to see if the times made sense. And then, of course, Anne, who's the creator, she recently took a look at it and she came up with some different conclusions. And so we compared notes. And then I had all kinds of new questions that I still have. So, basically, because of the CAD notes, that's a pretty good record of when the 911 call came in, when the response was made. I'm not saying it's infallible, but it would be hard to tamper with that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to pretend that we can believe all of that. And there are other parts of the evidence that, we don't know if we can count on or not. So that's probably the best we've got as the start for the timeline.
Right.
So we know, if we compare the camera, we sync it up, we know the time that Chris entered the pool. But then we have these really conflicting statements from the people who arrived first. In the 911 call, the caller says she arrived on scene at 8 a.m. That would have been 4 minutes later. She probably did not. She may have been nervous in the 911 call. I don't know the reason for the discrepancy, but then that's later corrected. And in the supplemental report, the 4 ladies who arrived for the water aerobics class say they arrived between 8:30 and 8:40. That's probably more realistic. But the call was not made until 8:54, and that's not okay.
No, so make that make sense. And Tamara, we were talking about that. Me and Miss Callie and Amanda and all of us were talking about that. Amanda's surviving this struggle, by the way, who just entered the panel. But what do you think about that discrepancy? That time, the gap.
Well, I think, first of all, I think the whole thing is hogwash. The whole investigation, the whole timeline, the whole Myrtle Beach place. It's such a joke.
Agreed.
Yes.
That is my honest opinion. I don't know what is accurate, what is inaccurate. So I would go off of, if you hear my bird, I'm sorry. He gets excited when I
Oh,
talk.
what kind of bird?
I have a green-cheeked conure.
Oh.
And he's like a little 2-year-old toddler, and he gets excited. Like if I talk, he wants to talk. So, and I'm letting my dogs out. But back to what I was saying. So I think with the probability of how everything is so not in sync, all the police reports and everything, there's a high chance and high probability that timelines are not correct. And then I'll have to say this, and I hate saying this because I do have a kind heart, but I'm still very disturbed when I look at the fact that those ladies who came to the pool, and again, I don't want to seem judgmental or mean, but when you get to the pool at 8:40 and you see something in the pool, why does it take to 7, till almost 9 o'clock to call and report it? And I don't know if my timeline's correct, but it breaks my heart that he had to sit there like that. But anyways, that's off subject. I'm sorry.
You're not off subject. You're on subject.
Yeah, that's right on. That's exactly it. Why? And if you don't want to be mean, I will be mean and judgmental and all that, because why? Why? Is it because we don't treat people with disabilities like we treat people? Is there some other reason? They clearly knew who it was and who his wife was in the 911 call. I don't get it.
With probably a more sinister reason.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. That maybe they were trying to figure out how to get him out without causing more issues. I would say. I mean, I know there was 4 of them, and they were elderly. It could have been okay, we can get him to this point because the water's going to carry him, but how are we going to get him? Or maybe they even tried to get him to that point, and they couldn't get him out of the pool because of the. Okay. Then I'm not going to play devil's. Okay.
They said they tried in the 911, but they did not try.
Well, let me say something. Let me add to that, because I like having different perspectives for my heart's sake. For my heart, to make me feel better. And so let's just say you are right. Let's say you're right. They're elderly and they were maybe in a panic of not what to do. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. A lot of times you hear you know, if there's a crime scene, a lot of times people know you're not supposed to touch a crime scene, or you're not supposed to like meddle in something like that. So when I say crime scene, you know, meaning like any type of death
Right.
matter, right? And so maybe they were thinking that, who knows? But I do find it interesting when I watch the video. So you guys have got to see like a blip, right? You guys got to see the video of him actually going into the pool, but you didn't get to see all the other videos of him entering the pool area, of other people walking around the pool area. I mean, people were standing on the sides of the pool when he's in the pool, just glaring into the water, looking at him. So it's like, for me, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I guess I don't want to be judgmental, but at the same time, if I was in that situation, I would probably be jumping there and try to figure out how to get him out of the chair. Does that make sense?
And I
So,
think we all across the
Yes,
board.
that makes total sense.
I'm gonna need that corner to go on and change that COD to what it should be, so you and your family can have that justice.
Yes.
yeah, that would be, you know, guys, and I'm sorry I'm jumping in there again, but I know y'all are probably like, don't be sorry, but, but, you know, a lot of people will say to me, like, okay, you guys heard this. I bet all of y'all heard the interview of Susie, right? And those horrible biased statements at the end of her interview from the professional who's supposed to be conducting the interview. What's crazy to me is that people, like, I don't think people realize that, like, of course, if it was intentional, I mean, nobody is really like thrilled. Like, I'm not thrilled. My mom's not thrilled. Nobody's thrilled to have that as his manner of death. But what we want is honesty and transparency, and we want accountability for the lies that were told the day of. Does that make sense?
It does. And if she had nothing to hide, either way, or she would want the same thing, Tamara.
Yeah. So yeah, that's another thing. Why is it such a problem? I mean, why does it matter? I mean, if according to Susie's interview, she's like, you know, what's the goal? Why is this happening? Well, the problem, why does she even care at this point? If she's moved on and she's with somebody else, like, why does she matter what it changes to? Right? That means there's a reason why she doesn't want it changed.
Good question.
Am I right or wrong? Or am I just ranting?
No, you're good. You do what you have to do, boo. I do have a quick question, because it's been on my mind the past week, because there's just a lot of other stuff. And if I ask questions, you're not comfortable answering them, or I make it uncomfortable, whatever, just tell me to shut the hell up, and I'll shut the hell up. Okay? I'm just going to put that out right now. Did Chris indeed have a DNR?
No, he did not have one in existence at that time.
Okay. That's been like the ongoing question for me, because he had one, he didn't have one, she went to go get it, and that's just been the ongoing speculation of how this transpired. So
right, I mean, she came back and she wasn't able to produce one. Now I will say this, and this is going to be giving her a little ounce of grace, which I'm sure y'all are not going to y'all are going to be like, what? But let me just say this, okay? And about 2 years before Chris passed, he got very, very ill, and he went into the hospital, and it was almost like a near-death experience. And I got called to the hospital by Chris, and I was up there with Chris and Susie for this really crazy time. And when I was up there with her, and Chris was vocal and everything, he said in that instance, 2 years prior, he had said, like, to the doctors, you know, if something happens, don't resuscitate me. So that was something he said 2 years prior. Now, they never had a DNR in place, but you got to understand, how do I say it? And so this is me giving her grace right now. I think Chris's, one of his fears was, if something ever major happened to me, like, he didn't want to be in a worse off condition than he already was. Right. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so I will say that. But her saying that they had a DNR, and running home and holding up the ambulance. I'm not really sure what that plan was all about because,
Okay,
yeah.
real
So,
quick, I'm going to touch on that real quick. So I looked at the timeline, and from the time the ambulance got there to the time it left, that's a 10-minute gap, which when it comes to EMS, that's actually a really good time frame for that because you have to think
Okay.
about it. They pull the rig up. I'm an EMT, so I deal with this stuff daily. So you pull in, you have to glove up, get all your PPE, especially in that time. It was like right after COVID, right? In 2021.
Yeah.
So you were like on the tail end of COVID. So they probably had to put all kinds of stuff on PPE to protect themselves. They didn't have to get the stretcher out. And if the fire department, which got there first, if they hadn't already pulled Chris out, then they have to delegate who's going to go in there to get him out of the pool. They get him out of the pool, and then they have to start life-saving measures at that point. So then they start it there by the pool. Then they get him loaded up into the truck, and at that point, they hook him up to machines, they get his IV going. And yes, I've seen the video and I've seen the timeline of where Susie talks to somebody and gets in the golf cart and goes to do whatever she's doing. I don't, and for me, from the EMS side of it, I don't think that they were waiting for her. They were simply getting him hooked up to all the machines, starting the IV, getting in contact with the medical director and with the hospital to give them a report of what was happening. And by that time, she had already come back and then they left. So yes, I can see it from your point that 10 minutes takes forever. Trust me, I've been there with my dad. That 10 minutes takes forever. It seems like 20 years, but that's the a lot like that time frame actually makes sense for them to do everything the right way. Now, devil's advocate also saying that JP had them in their pockets or Susie had them in pockets and paid them off to do it. That's also a possibility. But the EMS time frame of that makes absolute sense, and time frame of it all, it actually lines up with, and even with the fire department, because what happens when you call 911, they'll send out the fire department first to see if they can do something without EMS being called, and then EMS gets called in second. So if the fire department, let's say they were at the Publix down the street, I don't know if there's a Publix down the street, but I'm just saying, let's say they were down Publix down the street getting a sandwich, they could have been closer to the scene, so they got there 3 minutes before EMS got there. And also keep in mind when you have a situation like this, that most firefighters are also EMTs. So they have their EMT BA or their paramedics. So in Chris's situation, they have to have somebody who drives the bus to the hospital. But he probably had the other EMS worker or he had the other EMS worker with him. But and there was more than likely one, if not two more firefighters in the back of that bus helping that one EMT get everything hooked up to help hook him up to the heart monitor, start his IV drip, calling into the hospital to give report and to call the medical director because it was stated that he had a DNR. They had to call the medical director to make sure that if there was a DNR, it was on file.
That's
And
absolutely correct.
so that's from the EMS point of it. So that way, like I said, I can understand coming from the family side of it taking so long for them to leave, but you have to break it down into steps of what EMS has to do to help your brother in that sense, in that situation as well.
Yeah, I think that makes really good sense actually because the fire department did arrive first and they had him out very quickly. I mean, they just got in and got him out of there in the chair. And
Have
that
to think about
happened.
it, on a fire truck, they don't have anything cardiac on the rigs. They don't have any of that. They can't. I mean, they can start IVs, like they have a jump bag. They can start IVs and stuff, but they don't have the heart monitors. They don't have. They haven't. They'll have an AED to shock him, but they don't have all that to hook him up to. So
Makes
for them,
sense.
so that's where it comes from, the EMS side of the timeline.
And just to kind of bounce off of her and a lot of other nurses that were in the chat or on the panel last time, and nurses that are in the chat know that most of the time, even with a DNR, you're going to be brought in, and I think I said this last time, still the patient's still going to be worked on until they get to the hospital regardless of if that call was made or not, with a DNR or not, because by the time already there. Me, you, and Amanda talked about that. They've already made it to the hospital, more than likely. By the time that it's even, if there
And
was
I even went a step further and got clarification from a fire chief who is also, he is registered or he's licensed here in Georgia and South Carolina. And he said when it comes to the DNR, DNRs are basically for patients that have cardiac or pulmonary issues before this. If it looks like it has foul play or suspicious, the DNR pretty much goes out the window. They don't even acknowledge DNR.
agreed.
So
So therefore, it would have had to have stopped by the DNR at the hospital in Layton terms. Do you see what I'm saying? Hey, Matthew, do you see what I'm saying?
Well, so
Anyway.
here's my thing then, is why did Susie run around making a spectacle of herself over a DNR that didn't exist and in the moment did not matter? Why
that's
did she do that?
probably in her pea-sized brain, again, playing devil's advocate here, that
Mm-hmm.
she thought if I say I have this, then they have to stop. But from a medical professional, like a medical standpoint, like with my patients, if someone tells me, oh, they have a DNR, I can't, like, even if I have a copy of the DNR on me, I can't do anything because it's not the original document. I have to have the original document in hand. So
Correct.
she probably said that thinking, oh, if I say it's a DNR, they'll stop trying to save him. But that's not how this works.
That's correct. You're
Yeah,
absolutely
and I would
right.
think somebody with a master's degree in physical therapy might, I don't know, maybe they wouldn't know. I just think that's the most suspicious thing that she has done, that she did on the scene. That's the reason this story stuck with me. It's the reason I kept looking. I'm talking too much. Tamara, what do you think?
We're not talking too much. I'm taking in what everybody's saying. Um, here's my feedback. I've never been really concerned about the DNR piece, even though maybe I might have said that a minute ago about the delay, and maybe I misspoke by saying that. I mean, even if it was delayed, I know for a fact when I showed up at the hospital to see my brother, the doctor himself said that my brother was brain dead at that point and did not have any brain capacity. So I'm not worried about that. Um, so the DNR to me is not my area of concern. What is the area of concern is the behavior that day. What you're talking about, Callie, like the behavior, the transactional behavior of like, hey, I need to go get these documents. I got to do this. I got to do that. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I'm married. I love my husband to pieces. And even if they told me when I showed up to the scene that my husband was passed away, I would be hysterical. I would be going, where is the ambulance going? I would probably want to get in the ambulance. They might not let me, but I would probably want to get in. And I'll say, where are you going? And I would want to leave everything right then and go follow that ambulance. And that's just me. And so that's where, for me, that's my focus, is watching that. And then you guys, obviously, you weren't there for the aftermath. You weren't there for, and I'm not saying, I don't mean that to sound wrong, what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, you guys, I was there for when we went to see him at the hospital. I was there the next day. I was there for the funeral, and all the behavior seemed very odd. And that's my focus, is the transactional behavior. And when I say transactional, and I mean transactional, it's almost like a business thing. It's like, okay, this is what we're going to do now. This is how we're going to do it. This and this and that. It's so unemotional, and that stood out to me. Does that make sense?
Tamara, somebody had asked in the chat earlier, if you can speak on it, who called and told you, like, how did you find out?
Oh, a neighbor called me, a female neighbor called me. In fact, I know who she is now, but I'm not going to release, her name out of respect. But she called me and let me know, and it was probably 2 to maybe 3 hours after my brother had been removed from the pool and taken. And so that was weird. And what was the other question? You said who notified me, and then there was one other one. Was there a follow up?
Well, just how did you find out?
I was just gonna let
Yeah, well, we all. Go ahead.
The other question was me. I had stepped in too, and so that's the other question you probably were thinking. Well, just to let you know that you're not the only one that would have done that for your husband, because I did exactly that for mom. My husband was murdered in 2000. It's been 25 years, and I can still tell you every second of the ambulance, the hospital, all of it. And you and I would have reacted the same. So you're not the only one.
I mean, even with my dad, he had a heart attack, and my mom rode in the ambulance with him. Like, I followed shortly after with how to get my kids situated, but my mom rode in the not in the back because that's protocol. You can't do that. But she rode up front. She rode in the ambulance with him to the hospital. So the fact that she didn't and didn't even seem like she wanted to, that's suspicious.
All that Susie did that day, in my opinion, was suspicious. All of her actions, but
Yeah.
Well, the whole day was strange for my family and I. You guys got to understand. I mean, I was looking back at text. Like, I mean, I loved her. I loved Susie. Like, I loved her. And so, that day, even though it was odd, all I thought in my mind is, I want to be there for you. Right. And even the next day when I had a conversation with her, I was like, I'll go make you a GoFundMe for money. Like I was willing to do whatever she wanted because I loved her and cared about her. Does it make sense?
That's what we do. It's very sad. It's the whole thing is, it's there are some parts of it that's so hard for me to not believe it to be contrived purely because of the timing. Tamara was on her way there for a picnic later that day. There are just things like that I cannot get past as being incidental. And if I understand, Tamara, I don't know if I've ever asked you this, but if I understand, when you did pick Susie up and you're headed to the hospital, she didn't know which hospital. Is that right?
Yeah, we went to the wrong hospital and we walked into the hospital, and when we went to the front, they said, he's not here. And then we're like, where is he? And then luckily it was an affiliate hospital of the main hospital, but we had to go, and then they said, well, it's at the other hospitals. We had to get back in the car and go to the main hospital about 15, 20 minutes up the road.
How horrible for you. I'm so sorry.
oh, me too.
So she told you to go to the wrong hospital, or she went to the wrong hospital first as well?
No, she told us all the wrong
Wow.
hospital to go to. We all went to the wrong hospital.
Wait, were you with her? Why did I think you?
So yeah, so I had this is kind of how it went. Originally, I believe that I had one of Chris' children with me. They chose to ride with me instead of ride with her. My mom also was there, and Susie and one child rode with my mom and my stepdad in their vehicle, and the other child chose to ride with me. And I said, "Are you sure you want to ride with your mom?" And they said, "No, I want to ride with you." So then they came and rode with me, and we all went up to the hospital. We got to the hospital. We walked into the hospital, and they said, "This is not the right hospital." Then we all had to walk back out, get in the cars, and go to the right hospital.
She was already disengaged.
I can't. I'm so sorry.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm trying to look at the questions in the chat as well. While
Wasn't
Very angry is the fact that, knowing that if she was stressed out or couldn't take it anymore, all she had to do was ask for help. And I think from her trying to portray like she just was so tired but didn't ask for help, I think that's where it starts for me, where I just don't really like her.
I don't believe her.
well, and I think I'm going to piggyback off that, because from what Tamara and what your mom has said, that y'all were over there like every day helping Chris and doing stuff for Chris. And so what was she tired of exactly if everybody else was stepping up to make sure he was okay?
Well, that's just it. My mom and I have talked about this in depth, and like, they've always had support around them. I mean, we were thinking all the way in the back, like even when, she was pregnant with the twins, my oldest brother, who was still alive at the time, he came and lived with them. So that way he could take care of my brother and do the heavy lifting with my brother, and she didn't have to. And then he's always had nurse and aides come in and out. Now in Myrtle Beach, he did not have nurse and aides coming in and out, but we all moved here because he asked us to move here. People don't even know that, but he moved here in 2013. He called me on the phone every day that year and said, please move to Myrtle Beach. And I finally, in June 2014, I moved and I came to Myrtle Beach just so we could be near each other, and I started helping, and my mom followed. So they were here for 1 year without any family, or, well, I'm sorry, my dad came with them. My dad has always been with them. But then we came, and my mom's been, and so we've been in Myrtle Beach since 2013, and we would come over regularly. And I will say, my mom is the trooper of the family. She has been with Chris more than anybody, meaning coming in, even though my dad lived in the house, my mom was always the one coming in and out, because Chris loved his mama, and I love my mama, and my mom came over all the time. And so, yeah, she was not alone, at all. And in fact, my mom doesn't like that I say this, but I'm going to say it because I think people need to know it, because she's a modest person. She don't like people to know this, but she helped financially, like in many ways. I'm talking about, she helped them purchase that house that they lived in, like gave them money. I mean, she's helped with wheelchairs, vans. I mean, anything that he needed medically, like she stepped in to help. And then she also physically came over and helped. And in fact, she went through years of making meals in pans and would bring them over at nighttime so that the kids and Chris and everybody, to give her a break from not having to cook. And she brought over food on a regular basis. And, I mean, so my point is she's never, I hope that answers y'all's question. She's never not had help.
It makes me not like her even more.
Yeah.
All right, Tamara, I have a couple questions because as intelligence lethal over here will tell you, I'm the question person. And I just
Okay.
I just want to understand the dynamic better. Um
Sure.
so that I can, I don't know, help my brain understand it. So, and again, if any of these questions are too in depth or you're not comfortable answering them, just tell me to shut the hell up and I'll shut the hell up. Like that's how we go. So
Okay.
when did Chris and Susie meet and how did they meet?
So when Chris first got in his accident, he had to go to rehab eventually when he was able to, when he was stable enough to go. And when he went to rehab, that's when he first met her at the first rehab facility. He met her there. She was the first physical therapist he ever had. And at the time they met, and they were just patient and, just a patient, like, and friendly. But that was it. Chris ended up, after about 6 weeks of being there, he got something called Mercer, which I'm sure
Yes,
because,
yes.
and he had to leave. He had to leave because of that. And then he decided not to go back. And so there was a 2-year gap between when he first met her and then, and then 2 years after that. And then that was part of the 2 years was part of when I went with him and helped take care of him at the college. And I learned to nurse him. I did his bowel programs. I did catheterizations. I went to classes with him. I dictated papers for him. I mean, anything he needed, I was there. And in that 2-year period, eventually his wheelchair had to be worked on. So he took it back to that rehab facility to have it worked on. And then they reconnected. And from there, they started emailing, talking on the phone. And then it kind of went into dating eventually. So 2002, they started talking, emailing, and then it progressed into dating. And then they got engaged, and then they got married in 2004.
Okay. So Susie had met him after his accident.
Yes. Thank you for saying that, because right on. This did not happen to her. She knew exactly what vows she was taking, And by the way, their
Yes.
wedding picture is so adorable. It's just the cutest thing. There's this picture where she's sitting in his lap and they're both young and happy, and it really doesn't look anything like she looks right now. And I don't mean that to be hateful. I just mean it's just this adorable, cute picture. Anyway, but she absolutely knew the vows that
Right.
she was making.
That was like my biggest question of like when they met and how they met, because if like the whole she married him knowing the, I
Hmm.
don't want to say issues, but the things that came with him, like what you're signing up for.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
So where were
Yeah.
they living when they met? Is my question. Were they? What state were they in? Were they in Myrtle Beach?
No, Virginia.
See, that explains a lot of where I was getting stuck, and I hate that I didn't already know that. I'm sorry for not knowing that.
Well, let me say something about this. I want to again, and I always like to give credit. I mean, it takes a strong person to want to marry somebody that's a quadriplegic. Truly, somebody who knows that their husband's paralyzed, and then or the guy they're dating, and then like fall in love and stuff like that. So I do want to say, for many years, she was a rock star in taking care of him, and she loved him very much at that time. But I will say what I've always said. In the last year of his life, it all shifted. And we all know that there's an influence that came into the lives of my brother and her, as in Solid Rock Church came in, and then things changed. And but for a long time she did really well at taking care of him, and she did know, like you said, she did know the responsibility. So I'm more, I would have liked her to be more vocal if she was getting tired. If she was getting
right.
burnt out on caretaking, she should have said something. Do you know?
I'm going to say this with all due respect, but if she was tired, was that what 2 years before, however hell the long ago that it started the affair? Is that a reason to have an affair because you're tired? No. So there's
Well,
no.
I'm gonna let you put that in there, Misty, because I know that was in my mind about there was probably other elements there, But
I'm gonna keep my comments to myself because she wasn't that tired. Sorry.
We don't hold back over here.
I'll go back in my corner. Um, so did Chris ever express to you or anybody around y'all that he had issues inside of his marriage with her?
I will say it very plain and simple, and I don't want to go into too many details for a
Okay.
couple reasons, but I will say yes, of course he vented to me and to my parents about, and his close friends about, things that he was feeling inside of his relationship, and just in general about how he was feeling about a lot of things,
Okay.
especially that pastor. I
Right.
mean, he was very vocal.
Good.
So when did they start attending Solid Rock? Do you know?
Well, yeah. Well, I read the article that was done on Susie by Solid Rock, actually, called Spotlight on Susie, and she said 2019. So I'm gonna go with what she said.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right then.
And I kind of remember. I mean, I remember that's about the time that they started.
That tracks because then Allison Williams in her affidavit places the beginning of their relationship at either 2020 or 2021.
Bingo.
Oh, I didn't realize, Callie, because my brain's foggy. I didn't realize she put a time. Did she actually put a timeline in that affidavit? I must have missed that.
She does, yeah.
Yes.
She's so smart.
Wow.
Look at her. Not really. She's
Well,
not smart at all. I
Thank
was being
God for
sarcastic.
Allison
Talking
Williams.
about Allison
Oh,
smart.
Yeah.
Because, okay,
Yeah,
Allison is
seriously.
smart. I thought you were talking about Susie. Allison is
Oh, no.
smart. Yes.
No,
Did
thank
your
God for Allison Williams. Just imagine what we would not know or not be able to confirm if not for that one golden affidavit that really confirmed all of these different pieces of the puzzle that would have been very difficult to confirm otherwise.
right? True.
Tamara,
can I say two questions I see in the chat that I think I want to help answer, unless somebody
Oh,
is
go
okay?
ahead. You're good.
Somebody said, who notified JP and Micah? Like, how did they get notified? I was told, and again, this is just reported to me, okay? So keep that with a grain of salt. I was told that Susie told the guy, the bald-headed guy that was with her, who also let Chris into the pool, told him to call, and I was told that a guy was the one that called to notify him per Susie's instructions. And so that's that question.
You know who that is?
Yeah.
That guy's got too much time on his hands.
Yep.
Stop, Matilda. Sorry.
I'm trying to figure out that other question. So y'all talk while I figure out that other question I saw. Please.
We have a ton of questions that, not a ton. We have some questions. Amanda's going over them, most of them right now, but I'll stop dropping my phone when Matilda, my dog, stops.
Look, I'm about to call EMS over here for these concussions you keep giving me.
Sorry. Have you ever seen the text messages that JP claims are Micah, and it's where she's naming, and they may be, but it is in the time of him having her phone, and anyway, and she's naming all of the children, and she names both of Chris and Susie's children.
No, I don't think I've seen that. Or maybe I have it just. And what was this? A text from JP?
So apparently it's between JP and either JP and JP or Micah and JP. I'll get those to you through Callie for sure.
Okay,
It's just been at that time, which is in 2020. This was in 2024, I believe. I'll have to go back and look. No. Yeah, no, it was. It was in 2024. It was right before or right after her last hospitalization, I do believe, where she's naming them. Am I correct? They're in the Dropbox.
But she's naming what? She's naming the children?
Naming all of his children. She starts off and just starts naming. She'll name one name. He'll say something. She'll name another. He'll say something. I'll pull it up and show it to you on the screen if I have to. But she says the last two names are yours and your niece and nephew.
Interesting. Well, listen, Angie, somebody named Angie in the chat said, how did she explain who y'all were since Chris had no family near? I'm not sure, Angie, if you're here still, what you mean by that, because what I was told by the coroner herself, the deputy coroner, was that Susie told the police that no family lived in town, but we all lived in town. Every one of us lived in town. And my dad lived in their house, in a spare room in their house.
That's what she's talking about. She's saying, how did she explain to everybody when she done lied and said he had no family? That's what she means.
Yeah.
Did your dad
That's troublesome.
express any issues to anybody that he saw or overheard between them two? Did he ever express anything to y'all about issues that maybe Chris did not want to be brought to light or just kept it to himself?
You're talking about my father? Yeah, my father talked to me all the time about everything, and it was quite eye-opening. In fact, I will tell you. So yes, my dad has definitely. How do I say it? He knew a lot. Chris and him would, if you think about it, my dad was retired and in the house. My dad has Parkinson's, so he would be sitting in the house, and my brother was there every day, right? Because he's in a wheelchair, and they had lots of time to talk. So he learned quite a bit.
How have the twins reacted to, obviously, I mean, losing a parent's never easy, but the manner behind it, how have the twins reacted since then, and then especially in the past couple of weeks with everything else that's transpired? How have they reacted to all that?
Well, I'm going to say that this is going to be my one boundary question. I don't like to talk about them because they've been put through enough in the last 3.5, almost 4 years. I couldn't imagine walking in their shoes and losing the best daddy on the planet, which he was, and then having pretty much, and this is my opinion, also losing your mom to somebody who they knew that their daddy did not like. And so that's the most I want to say about them, to be honest, if you can respect that, because I don't want to speak.
No, absolutely. I
I don't want
respect
to.
that.
I don't want to speak
No,
for them. So
you're absolutely fine. That's
We
understandable.
all,
I just,
yes,
yeah.
we all respect that. Absolutely. Hey, Miss Callie, you want to pick up back up where we were with the timeline? Because we all got off. But it's good. I enjoy
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Actually, I was just looking up on the Micah timeline, which, by the way, you guys did such a good job with that. That's
Man,
probably the most comprehensive timeline anybody has now of that
she pulled
whole
yours.
situation.
She pulled yours. She pulled mine. She pulled another Carrie's and theirs that they had gathered up and put it together. And so we all contributed, but she put it together. It was amazing. It's amazing at that.
Yeah,
I just
it's really
said,
good.
like you said, but I think Misty asked me last time, what did you do? I said I copied and pasted. Like it
And it
was
was
just, and then I was trying to like go through and color coordinate it so that way everybody knew like who belonged to who, and there wasn't a question of like that. And then the ones that are still black, I didn't. Some of the abbreviations, I'm like, I don't even know what that means, so I'm just gonna leave it black.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I can help fill in the blanks on some of those for you. But yeah, if you notice in September of 2023, JP and Micah separate over adultery. So we know by now she knows. So
does it say that on the separation thing or no?
no, let me see what it says. The wording is very strange in the actual document. It's for acts of adultery with women whose names are well known.
say
So
that. Whoa, back up. What? I
the
went somewhere else with that. Start from the beginning.
oh, okay. So the separation document, the reason given is acts of adultery with women whose names are well known. In other words, well known to JP is what it's getting at. So it's kind of like saying he knows who he cheated with.
Very good.
So that is a weird, maybe way to put it, but I guess maybe that's what you say if you don't want to name names. But there's other evidence that, yeah, she knew by then. Because remember, there's a whole thing about going to the elders and trying to have a conversation with the elders, right? And then she forgives Susie and decides it's okay for her to go back to church. There's, all these things that happen after that. So I think that's at least, in the ballpark, if not the exact date. But okay, let's see, where were we? So it didn't take first responders any time at all to respond and get him out. And they don't put up yellow tape until 9:39. So you've got an awful lot of people going in and out of the scene, which I thought was a little strange. They put up that yellow tape about the same time, that JP and Micah are arriving. So I don't know why they waited too long to secure the scene. Maybe they weren't thinking of it as needing to be secured.
I would think that would be it.
Yeah, it must be something like that. Then there's the ambulance leaves. Susie leaves again and comes back later. And this time she has one hand in the air and the other hand she's holding hands with a police officer, a female police officer. And then within just a few minutes we see John Paul and Micah. And again, that's when the yellow tape goes up. And when she greets them again, it's that same one hand in the air. So
Can I say how sorry I am, Tamara, that she chose to call, I don't care if pastor or not, that son of a bitch over you? I'm just very sorry.
I appreciate that because that was hurtful.
Yeah.
It's very sorry.
So much of this that seems to be intentionally hurtful. And that's just my opinion, allegedly, and all that, and certainly no reflection upon my employer. But
Absolutely not.
yeah, so allegedly, a lot of this looks deliberately hurtful.
Very much.
Yeah. So that's, at 9:41, Susie leaves with John Paul and Micah. And Tamara doesn't find out for a couple of hours.
Where did they go?
Nobody knows.
Oh, I don't know that I've heard specifics that I could count on. I've heard theories.
Can we hear some theories?
Oh, that might even be pushing the boundaries of my allegedly.
That's okay. That's okay. That's quite
Yeah.
all right.
I really don't know, so anything I would say would be a little more than fabrication.
Callie, we on the same wavelength. Like, I mean, you can ask my people when I first heard Chris's name and started hearing allegedly what happened. I said, it ain't happened like that. I think her and JP were allegedly, in my opinion, behind it all. And Tamara, I just want you to know they will have their day. They will have to answer.
Thank you for saying that.
There's more than one way for someone to be responsible for something like this. And I guess these days I lean more towards coercion because I just think there's an awful lot that we don't know evidence-wise. But I certainly can't rule it out. And even within the
Coercion
past...
toward
Yeah,
Chris, you mean?
I don't think this was something that Chris dreamed up on his own, that he decided on his own to do. I think he was neglected over an extended period of time and coerced into this act. Potentially, that's one of two theories in my mind. And the other is that someone interfered with the functioning of the wheelchair. And I, for some reason, even though I try to gaslight myself into not, you cannot let that one go.
I can't either, Callie, and everything you just said is coming from my heart too, and the way that I think and feel too, 1000%.
And the whole world was robbed of getting to know Chris Skinner and the powerful force for good that he is in this world. And I feel so much for the family and for Tamara and for her having to go through this. Nobody should have to go through this to find out the truth. It's horrible. It's just horrible. They lost out, and the whole world lost out. Everyone that he would have encouraged. People like me who've newly lost the ability to walk. I wish I had a Chris Skinner in my life every day. There's not very many people like that, with that ability to inspire. So I find it hard that he would have known his godly mission.
God, that was
and
beautiful.
chose to not fulfill his purpose. That's not who he was, in my opinion. Allegedly,
This whole life is allegedly.
I hope I haven't said too much, Tamara.
It's on that TV show we watched. These are the days of our lives. That one.
Callie, you didn't say too much. And first and foremost, I want to say hi to Steph's case file. Hi, Steph. I see you in the chat.
Hey, Sam.
Steph in here.
She's in here. And I want you to know, somebody is asking a question that we answered earlier, but I'm gonna just repeat it. They're asking, did Susie go to the hospital? Yes, she went to the hospital. She was with us later on in the day when we went to the hospital to see Chris.
There she is.
I have two in my opinion, because I have to say that for one of them, and allegedly. Um, I think old Jay Pissy put some money in a coroner's pocket, and I remember being on a live and said this, and I was waiting for somebody to mention it, and they didn't, so I finally did. I would like to know how good old Jay Pissy went and took Micah's stuff. Micah, then got a new phone. How did her old phone call 911? Those are my two allegeds, and I will die on both of those heels. And justice is coming for both.
I just wanted to hop up here and say hello to everybody. Tamara, I'm always thinking and praying for you and your family. I can't, even though we go through these cases and stories, I feel like I wake up brokenhearted, and I feel like I go to sleep brokenhearted because of everybody's pain in this world. And one day, one fine day, there will be no more suffering. Be no more suffering, and we will all be in heaven together. And Chris is going to come running down the street with his new legs, and it doesn't replace him here on earth, but like you said, he wouldn't come back.
Oh, that was beautiful stuff.
That's why
Yeah.
she's the queen.
I'm so glad you're here, and I love your compassion. Thank you for having compassion and being sweet to me.
She's pretty awesome around here. Very much loved. Very much.
And I've been watching all your videos, Steph. I'm glad I watched your P. Diddy thing today. Thanks for keeping me updated with the newest, latest, and greatest.
Hey, it's my honor. I woke up this morning and I said, I bet Tamara's wondering about P. Diddy. So I made sure I got you updated. And I survived New York City. Oh, I'm never going back there. It was so crazy.
Was it that bad?
Girl, it was like a different world, and much respect, but I could not live there. I couldn't find a tree. Not hardly. People drive like crazy.
Grass?
It's bad.
No grass?
Yeah, they gave us some grass and stuff, but you looking for a nice tree and some peace and quiet? Nope.
Mm.
Well, we're glad that you made it back safe. And
I've never been on a live with Steph before.
Callie, Steph, have y'all met?
Gosh,
Oh,
I was
yeah,
totally in the
we talk about people
conversation.
all the time, but we've never been on a live before together.
I love it.
Yes. Yeah, hi. Well, it's good. It's good to be on the panel with you.
You too.
Okay, so do you want to continue, Miss Callie? Where we at?
Oh, I think that's pretty much all I've got on my timeline. I mean, I'm happy to talk about whatever y'all want to talk about.
Amanda, where were you in our? Where did Lethal go?
Oh, I think she fell off, but she's going to be in the chat, she said.
Hey, Amber. So, Amanda, where did those? Because for some reason I can't pull up those questions on my
I can pull them up. Hold please.
Tamara. While she's doing that, what was I fixing to say?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am. Is there anything in the chat that you see that you want to address at any time? It is all yours. I told you, take it over. Anything you do. Callie, you too.
All righty. So you know, we are getting a storm. I might cut out, but if that happens,
Are you in Georgia? because I'm getting a storm too.
No, I wish I was in Georgia.
You
Me
don't.
No, I'm
too.
in the
You
Ohio
don't.
Valley.
It's
I'm
hotter than
sitting on the
Hades
back
down.
porch wondering if I'm going to be in Kansas anymore because it's looking pretty shady out here.
No, nobody. I took an egg the other day outside. It was 102 degrees outside. I took an egg outside and I cracked it on the street in front of my house, and I was able to scramble it.
Yikes.
Told my daughter that was for dinner. She told me she wasn't eating it. Anyhow, so the next two questions kind of go hand in hand, and it involves uh maybe something that sisters don't want to talk about their brothers, but it's just questions that we had. Um, when it
Oh, I know
comes,
what you're going to ask.
I mean, personally, if someone asked me about this about my brother, I'd be like, hell, I don't know. That's his business. So,
You could call it the Christopher Reeve question, maybe, if you don't want to actually say it. And I
I mean,
think Tamara will get what you're talking about.
I don't have a problem saying it, but if she's uncomfortable answering it, that's why I was leading with that. Um, when it came to the relationship, were they ever able to be intimate, and were the twins conceived the natural way? That's why I said they go hand in hand.
You have met your quota of questions. I'm just kidding.
I told you I'm the question queen.
I'm just teasing. So I'll start out by telling you this because I think this will be a funny way of telling you guys. Okay. So let's talk about it like this. So when I was 18 years old and I went to take care of my brother after his accident, right? And I was learning to catheterize him. We got the biggest laughs because that bad boy would just have a mind of his own, even though I'm his sister. And he would be so embarrassed. He'd be like, "Oh my God, this is my sister. Can't believe like." And it was just that's just what it would do. So yeah, so he was capable of like, and it was just that's just what it would do. So yeah, so he was capable of having that,
Okay.
and but they did in vitro
Okay.
for the children. So
That was I think that's all the questions I had. I'm sure I'll come up with more. But
that's a funny way of putting it, right?
I
Like
love
That
it.
is
think
very
about
classy, too.
think about the laughs that he and I had during that first year together. We would be like, he would literally, we would laugh and cry. We'd be like, I cannot believe like we have to do that, like see each other, like I had to see him naked. He was like, I can't believe you got to see me naked. I'm like, I know. It's like,
They said it kept cutting in and out. So
it's because you didn't have your pretty face on the screen.
ugh,
TikTok don't like you if you don't have your pretty face
I
on the
was
screen,
enjoying
JP.
having Chris's beautiful face and Miss Tamara's as well.
well, I hate that everybody didn't hear my comedy show just now, but
Did everybody
I
hear
heard
it?
every word and I can never unhear it.
I love it.
You are so brave, Tamara. You're so brave. You just are very matter of fact and truthful and like, well, if you're going to ask me, I'm going to tell you.
I mean,
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, you know what? You guys, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want you to know if y'all think about it, Chris was a motivational speaker, and that's what he did. He took his life and his pain, and he didn't have anything hidden. He would talk to kids about his drug use, his alcohol use, like everything that he did that he was, was kind of, he didn't want to be ashamed of it. He wanted to use it as a tool to empower others. So I want you guys to think about it that, me speaking out, even if the manner of death turns out to be intentional or whatever it is, it's a way of using it as a tool to empower and educate and help other people that are in the same situation, and it's the same thing with his lovely, our lovely stories when I was 18, because it was the truth, right?
Right.
I mean, when I was 18 years old and just graduated high school, I never in a million years thought I would, have a brother who was paralyzed, who I had to learn to, and I don't know if y'all know of anybody in here who's done bowel programs, but that's not fun to do for your loved one either, And so we got really close really quickly. So I will say this, it it did in the beginning when JP started those attacks on me and started trying to say like I didn't have a relationship with my brother. I I had to get thick skin because it hurt at first. It hurt. I was like, why are they saying this? And then by the time I heard Susie's interview and her saying that we didn't like each other, by that point I was over their shenanigans and their lies where it didn't affect me the same way. But I was kind of like, why are they on this narration of trying to say that I did not have a relationship with my brother? Like, why? Like, I don't understand. Because it's not true. What were you showing me?
Look at this. This
Oh,
got sent to me.
look at
Beautiful picture from B in the chat. Oh, it's beautiful. I'll make sure you get. I'm sure you have it, but I will make sure. And it's inspirational as well.
okay.
The chat's like dying to know because they missed it. So basically, in a rundown, Amanda, surviving struggles, asked her final question, and it was, were Chris and you know who ever able to be intimate? And I was going to say a really ugly word, and I changed my mind. And then Tamara, I'll let you, if you don't mind, just kind of telling them your answer to that because it was really awesome.
Okay. Okay, well, let me try to make it as funny as the first time. So, when I first started taking care of Chris when I was 18 years old, and that means I had to catheterize him, which means I had to, put my hands on things I didn't think I needed to put my hands on when I was 18. But, and I will say it had a mind of its own. So, yes, he was still able to, function in that area. So,
But the way it was, it's still, y'all just don't get it. It was just, I'm just going to hush.
I couldn't like.
well,
I mean,
listen,
I would. Well,
I'll,
I don't know if I like my brother that much. Ooh, that's iffy. I don't know.
You would
I'd be
do
like,
it. You would do it. I know you. You would do it.
Yeah.
blindfolded, maybe,
Absolutely.
just to see what happens. I'm just kidding.
Right. She's bringing a lot
now,
of
I mean, I
humor
will say
to a
this.
situation that would be hard. It
Yeah.
would be very hard in real life. But I admire that about
But
Tamara.
I will say this, even though that could be the possibility, guys, I mean, it would still be different than, of course, an able-bodied person, right? So somebody can't move. I mean, so you put yourself in her shoes, it might be different because you're, it's not all affectionate like as you might have with an able-bodied person. Does that make sense? So, I
But
can see.
she knew that going in. So
That's right. She knew that when she married him.
you knew that when she met him.
Yeah.
So
She gets no
when
passes here.
they started
No.
going to Solid Rock, how long after did they start going to Solid Rock did your brother know that something was up between him and her?
Well, that's a really good question, and the truthful answer that I'm going to answer of what I know, my knowledge, was that in the last, like I've always said, in the last 3 to 4 months, he stopped going to church, and he was saying he didn't like that guy, and he was kind of onto him, like suspicious of him. And I will say, in my opinion, at first I believe that he was really what's the word? I really think at first he felt like that guy was the predator and that his wife was the innocent one being preyed on instead of believing it was a consensual thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It
makes
does.
sense.
You had said that already. Well, not tonight, but the other night, and I thought about that over and over again. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because I don't think anybody wants to believe. Nobody wants to believe that, right? Everybody that finds out something they want to believe like it's not true or that maybe the other person, and you want to believe the best in your mate, right? And so, but that's kind of the timeline I know. I do know the last year of his life was hard, and it was hard for multiple reasons. I mean, yeah, he was getting bed sores a lot, and bed sores meant that he you know, you would think it would be the opposite when you hear the word bed sores. You would think that you wouldn't want to be in the bed anymore. But in fact, when you get bed sores, he couldn't be in his chair when he had sores
Yes.
because he had to go side to side to heal them. And those times were very hard for him because why? He was a very social guy, and that was taking away his ability to at least get in his chair and go places and be social because he knew everybody in the neighborhood. He would stop at people's house and talk all day long while she was at work or you know, and then we would come over. I would come over and sit on the back porch with him. He had a really cool back porch, and I would go sit back there and talk to him for hours. And so he was just a sociable dude. And so that kind of started some decline as well. But the real question is about the Solid Rock. He stopped going to church there this summer. I did see someone in the comments, I don't remember who, but they asked that they said something like they heard that he was trying to leave the church. And yes, he did talk about how he wanted to leave the church and he wanted her to find a new church home with him somewhere else. He told me that directly. And she didn't stop going to Solid Rock. She still went even though he didn't go anymore.
Disrespectful on so many different levels.
Yeah.
When your husband's asking you, should you?
Sorry, I just this has got to come out of my mouth. And now she gets to sit in the first pew and don't think, I mean, I'm a Christian, but don't think I didn't want to walk up there and push her off of it when I saw that video.
Absolutely.
Steph, I'll help you. I'll just look the other way. I'll be like, oops, I'm blind. I don't have my contacts in.
For y'all. You know, I think about that too. When I saw her standing in Micah's place singing that time, it's been a month or so ago, maybe even longer. My time's always off, and she was up there singing. I want to say your friend Crime and Cast, Tamara, you know him. He posted it. It was when he went to church, and and I was like, "Are you effing kidding me? Are you serious?"
You're talking about when she was up there singing?
She was standing in where Micah would have stood.
Yeah.
So Solid Rock.
And looking so uncomfortable doing it.
Good. I hope it did. And I'm sorry. No, I don't. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do. No, I don't. I do, but I'm going to say it, but I'm just going to say karma. How Micah was treated. How Allison was treated.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
I will say this, guys. I looked through a lot of text messages from the past and reminisced, and then got trauma triggered. I'm just kidding. But I said to her in November 2024, I said, look, if you guys keep saying you're just friends over and over, and then you get married, the whole world's going to think you're a liar. And I literally wrote that in a text message to her.
You're a badass.
And guess what? Guess where we are? We got married, and guess what the world thinks? I mean, the whole world sees them for what they are. I mean, look, I mean, in the beginning, I'll be honest, when Micah first passed, I wanted to believe. Dude, I think I told y'all that last time. I wanted to believe her. Like, I was actually like writing her and like trying to like give her the benefit of the doubt. So, I mean, I didn't like eventually after November 2024, I was like, okay, I can't take the lies anymore. Like, I know that there was something going on, like, you know, and you're lying. And like, I just couldn't take it anymore. Like, I was like, I'm not going to keep aiding and abetting your secrets. Like, it's not happening, you know? So that's kind of what happened with me, and that was my turning point.
Do y'all all remember when, in the beginning, when we were all just, how is this church not getting rid of him? Well, obviously we found out, of course, he owned everything. He owned the church, But, you know, they should have still did what they did when they did this with Allison. They made him sit down. And they didn't do that with him too terribly, really at all after Micah. And then finding out this was, how many times can he get married and do this? And still people are going to, at every word he speaks.
Oh, I don't know. Don't you think the people who believe him now have some kind of incentive, financial or otherwise, for believing him?
I always go
Or
back
maybe,
to that.
wow, maybe I'm naive.
Yeah, and I always go back to knowing that he's brainwashed so many people, 500 people. I mean,
Mhm.
we've been told, all these people have been brainwashed. I know it's possible, and I know all this. It's just so hard to not want to smack them in the back of the head and be like, "Wake the hell up!
Oh,
Wake up!"
yeah. And remember, too, that we like a good redemption story. That's what we want from a spiritual leader. We want somebody who has sinned and repented, and now they're on the side of the Lord. I don't know how he keeps getting away with it over and over again, but I kind of understand the model, if that makes sense.
Because if we all together talk about how his just to hear his voice makes us feel, how are they? I just can't. It doesn't make sense. It makes us all just cringe. Um, but they still listen to every word he says. It just blows my mind. It just blows my mind.
Mm, yeah.
That I'm about tired of lethal dropping. Get her.
I just did it again. It just showed me.
Yeah, she just dropped again. That's all right.
She's
I'm gonna
having
find.
bad weather. She's
I'm gonna
sending text
find her.
messages with bad
I will
weather.
say, with looking at the timeline that Callie made and then Misty made, and combining them both together, and the one that Carrie had given me too, the combining all together, you can see where it all starts and how it all lines up. Like when one gets into trouble, within a year, the other one gets into trouble. And it's just
Right.
back and forth between the two of them. I mean, monkey see, monkey do. That's exactly how I see it.
It has been. You're talking about with daddy and son, father and son.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of fascinating how they cycle together.
I didn't really realize it until I looked at the timeline and then put it all together. And I was like, holy
Yeah.
crap.
That's why I went back to 1974 or two.
Yeah.
I think it was just 1970. I can pull it up, but I was like, we're going way back. This was before I was
I
even
did.
an apple in my daddy's eye. Like, dang.
Well, I mean, that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see
Hey, Skylar.
how more than that, more not just the dynamic of it, but I wanted to see how screwed up that
Hey,
sob.
Misty, Jen wants to know if you're sharing the timeline. I just did it. I don't care what they do with it. I don't won't bother me.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll figure out a way to share it because it's awesome.
I mean, I can email it
My
to you
camera,
if
my
you
camera.
wanna message me your email address. I can email it to you. If anybody who wants the timeline, I don't know how I can put it in the box. If I'm able to put it in the Dropbox, I can put it in the Dropbox, and that's also the Cali
My
because it was
Dropbox is completely full now. I
okay.
have to
Well,
buy.
no, the
I have to buy more.
okay. Well, and also it's up to Cali because Cali it was Cali's hard
Oh,
work
no,
as well.
please do.
Okay.
Please go right ahead. Yeah. If you
Kelly,
want,
That's
I'll go through it and answer a couple of questions first, but that's up to you.
yeah.
yeah,
No, go ahead. Do what you have to do, and
Okay.
I can always figure out a way to get a hold of you, and I can, or you can just go through and I mean,
Yeah.
it's that's take right rocket science to look at the colors and be like, okay, well, Micah's purple, green. You could just
Oh,
do what you got to
yeah.
do. I don't care. I
Oh,
just put
it's
it all
beautiful.
together.
You've done a really good job.
Well, thank you.
Um, yeah, and I think about the timeline. Like, I don't know how many of y'all are my age or, older, but this all was born out of this movement in the 70s when we were having prayer meetings in our living rooms. And the country was kind of in this space. Steph, you probably know that time. You probably remember it.
Yes,
I do too.
Yeah, it was
absolutely.
this certain moment in time, and independent religion had this kind of this resurgence. That revivals were a thing.
Yep, they were tent
Hmm.
revival, all of it.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Misty, do you know if there's a way to do a screen share or something? Because like a lot of people want to see the timeline. The timeline when I tell you I went to go print it out, it was like when it first started, it was 24 pages. I don't know how many pages it is now with all the Cali stuff, but it's not a typical
It,
timeline.
it's
Like it's not like a line with
bigger.
different things. It's like a Excel spreadsheet with all the dates in it. I haven't quite got down to the timeline time, like the
Um,
drawing of the timeline. If that makes sense.
you can't screen share on TikTok. We could do something on YouTube or just, or we could just, my OneDrive isn't full. We could put it on OneDrive and just, hell, I don't know. I guess I would just need a code for everybody to have to go to the OneDrive, and I could just put the code in.
Figure something out.
We'll figure it out. And like maybe put the code in the chat, and everybody in the next live can go and copy and paste, and then go into it and be able to get to it. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work. I know I've seen some people who they have themselves up top and below is the screen and you can go through. I don't know. That's
Oh, you're
above my pay
talking
grade.
about,
It's above my pay
yeah,
grade.
what are those called?
If you want to eat, find a way for me to get it, I will compile it all for you into notebook LM.
Let's do that.
Yes.
And have the note and have AI do it for us. Let's not, let's make it work for us. Oh yeah.
Perfect.
Wait,
Yeah,
You
what,
go through it one
what
time
was
and we'll get it to you, Steph, and you can work your magic.
what was the app you used?
LM, the freaking bomb. It's like the massive brain of Google.
And
It's
everybody
like you put all your notes in, everything you've took notes yourself or saw or whatever, and you say, okay, to give me a timeline now. Let's talk about this. You can ask it questions. Give me the top 10 main topics. I mean, it's crazy. I love it.
Hey, not telling you. Oh, okay. And then anybody can go look at it.
Well, what it'll do is really compile it into maybe an exportable PDF that is where you can just, I mean, I have tons of room on my Google Drive where you just
Okay.
have a public link that you can share to everybody where they can go read, where it's not a massive file, but it's not in Excel. It's just kind of in this timeline format, but it's taking all the data and thinking about it for you.
Go for it, Steph,
Okay.
because
That's awesome.
yeah.
What?
Someone said that where'd it go? Something about with all the information coming out. Anyone else feel like with all information that's been brought out, it's taking too long to make an arrest? I do not. I think that they're waiting on some things to get changed or brought forward, and the more that each of them talk, the more they bury themselves. So as much as we're sitting here on the edge of our seats, biting our nails, saying hurry up," the FBI has all this information. They're probably looking at this going, wow, we've had this for 9 months. What are they doing? Like they're eating their popcorn watching this movie. Like, but
Yeah.
I think that we all feel like we've solved the case and we have, but there's more going on in the background, obviously, that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Um, so we just have to be patient and know that hopefully, God willing, and they know what they're doing. And I will say this, and I know I'm probably people are gonna come at me. That's fine, but I believe it's gonna be more like the Murdoch case, where they're gonna do it. They're gonna get him for financial stuff, and then along the way, Micah will get thrown in there somewhere, and Chris at the
That's fine.
in it.
This one is ass in jail now.
Well, I know. Let
Run
me
behind it.
let me go ahead and call the alphabet boys for you, Misty, and I'll tell them. Excuse me, Miss Misty said
Call
to
him right
go ahead
now.
and throw his
Get
ass in
off the
jail.
live. Get off the live and call him right now.
I
Tamara,
share
you
your
still with us?
impatience.
I have you.
I'm here.
How do you feel about? So we know that the FBI has been looking into Chris's case. Am I correct, or do we know that?
That would be a pretty accurate description, yes.
So could it possibly be? Y'all just hear me out. That's what they've been waiting on, is to tie it all together with a beautiful purple bow. If y'all don't stop, I'm telling y'all right now.
Out again.
Look at them. Don't even know how to act. Hold on. Oh, now they
But
stop.
you better leave Matilda alone.
Oh, what a cute dog.
She's a mess. They don't know how to act, and plus we're in. I don't know why it won't turn around now. Oh,
Well, I'm not. I mean, I've been told, and I don't know how accurate this is, but I've been told that the FBI can have up to around 18 months to between, 18 months, up to 18 months to kind of make an indictment or to or do something. And I don't know how accurate that is, but y'all can, I guess, go and figure that out. But, and I was also told that, sometimes we think of just one person in the scheme. I'm not saying that you guys do, but we got to look at the bigger scheme. Like there's multiple parties
Mm-hmm.
around, and that they kind of take time to sift through it, and then they also research other people, not just the one subject. It gets much bigger. And I actually like to talk about like this. And Callie, I'm sure you have information too, but I think about, and I know this. Okay, I know JP's not this, but I think about the mob, like people that were mobsters, and like it took sometimes a long time to capture them because they were spending so much time observing and actually looking at the whole operation, not just the mob guy, and then eventually they would pick him
And
up.
I think Lethal
So
touched on this
I
at
just
one point too, that when they're doing all this, they're gonna go after the first guy that will flip. So they may be trying to figure out who that is, and they're probably already talked to people, and they probably already got all the information. But as people, the more people that flip, that's when the bigger people will get taken down. In my opinion, allegedly, educational purposes only. I don't know what else I have to say about that.
I
well,
think we're also looking at it. It's easy for us to be focused, and I certainly am, on Chris Skinner and Micah Miller, but there are hundreds of international student visas that probably should be combed through.
I haven't even thought.
And so there is this international concern. And one of the reasons I bring that up is because this is really going to be some inside baseball, and it may mean nothing to y'all, but I've had a FOIA request in with the State Department for some time. And they say they're going to fill it, but they keep delaying.
Oh,
I don't know if that means anything. It might mean nothing at all. But I know that there is way more to what they have to look at and take in. And if they're really doing a thorough job of investigating all the different things that this family is involved with, it's an international concern.
it is. I agree, and I haven't even thought about what you just said. I've been just straight up, mostly South Carolina, a little bit of North Carolina, and going into the judicial system, the courts, the judges, and the real estate, and you name it. Like it's huge. But
It is huge. The
we're
18 original victims that were from the federal case against Reginald Wayne Miller have yet to see justice. Restitution was ordered, and they have yet to be paid.
But yet
And
he
those are
wanted, but yet,
18 named individuals.
but yet he wanted, and I'm gonna say it. Wayne Miller wanted the woman who owed the church money, his church money, them money, or whatever. The woman that had Regina, and I slipped my mind the name because it's been so long since I've looked at this. That Regina's house, Miss Attorney Regina Ward's house. What was her name? Do y'all remember her name?
Yes, Evelyn Califf.
Okay, Miss Callis. Okay, but what he did to her, yet his ass hadn't paid a dime of any restitution. Be so for real right now.
Right.
I lay with this question, but isn't there a court date coming up that they're supposed to meet with him or go in front of a judge for all that, or has that already been solved?
That has not been solved. There has not yet been a hearing date scheduled for either Jane Doe 1 or Jane Doe 2.
Okay, because he just didn't show up, correct?
He just did not respond at all. He did not
Okay,
even acknowledge that he was
okay,
served.
okay, but so we're waiting on a court date for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, a court date for a hearing to determine damages in both cases.
I got you. All right, now I'm really out of question 6, guys.
I know you're not, Tamara. Do you see anything in the chat? Have you been watching the chat?
Kind
Because
of.
I
I
saw,
mean, yeah, I don't really see anything for me. Have you seen anything for me?
and then it messed up. Um, it's not going. Is it not going to let me get all the way up? There it goes.
I do want to tell everybody, if you guys have questions for me, I do have to pop off here at 10, so you guys ask away because I gotta.
And if you want
Do
to
you
come up,
know who? Do you know who Chris was supposed to meet with that morning to play chess? Was it like somebody that he played chess with all the time, or just some imaginary person somebody made up,
That's a
allegedly?
that's a great question, Callie. You want to answer that one for me because I know
Oh,
you know.
well. I mean, I think it's made up, but that's just my opinion.
Uh,
That's just my
listen,
opinion, allegedly, like playing chess with the devil.
I believe
I
it was
will
made.
say I will say that it was really funny because I made some statement one time just in a hurry, and I said, I've never known my brother to play chess, and then of course the cyber bullies, as in his minions, jumped all over that and was like, "Oh my god!" And then they showed a picture of him playing chess back in the day with Susie, like 20 years ago, right, on one of those little like pages. And
Yeah.
what people need to realize is I never knew Chris. First of all, I've never known Chris to play chess at the pool area, is what I was trying to say. But that doesn't mean he didn't. I just didn't know about it. Now, I will say the time in the morning, well, I'm not sure why Chris would want to go to the pool before 8 a.m., by the way, and play chess with anybody on a Labor Day when he was supposed to be having a cookout with his sister. It didn't make any sense to me. So I'm going to say it was
Maybe he wanted to go
fictitious.
play with Casper.
Yeah,
Casper was
maybe.
lonely. Okay,
Maybe.
I'm just kidding. I'm
Um,
sorry.
so, who knows? And maybe, listen, the guy at the pool that let him in said that supposedly that's what he said. But then he also made a post somewhere else that I have. Back in 2021, he made a post where he said they talked football. So it was was it football or was it chess? I don't know. But at the end of the day, there's a possibility my brother might have said that. I don't know. I don't know. But I don't believe it really. Like, I don't believe that he was there to play chess with anybody.
I don't either.
And also I'll say this. Another thing that bothers me is in Susie's interview, she acknowledges that he was having suicidal ideation. I'm sorry if we're not supposed to say that word on this
Go
thing,
ahead.
but
You're fine.
so she said, she said she knew about the ideation. She knew that it would be at the pool. I guess my next thing would be like, why do we let someone that we know is having ideations go to the place that they're having ideations about, right? Like, why do we not have protective barriers in place? Am I wrong for that? I want y'all to tell me. Are we wrong or right?
No, you're right.
You're absolutely right on.
No, I would not. No, or I would
I mean, I
I
want
would go
y'all,
with him or whoever. Like if my daughter,
right?
I'm not married to me, but if my daughters came to me and said, "Well, I'm going to do this here and do this way," well, you're not going there by yourself. And no, I wouldn't. And so again, I have all these questions. When it came to his medicine, I know I heard, I think on the last slide, you said that he had missed the night medicine, the night dose. Did she double it up the next morning to make it so maybe he was
Well,
out of it?
first of all, you said you were out of questions. I'm just kidding.
Look, I
I'm
found a
just kidding.
couple question sticks shoved in the couch here, and I picked them up real quick before the couch ate them. All right.
I know. I'm just picking. I'm picking with you. Um, So I didn't say that. Susie said that in her interview. In her interview, she said she forgot to give him his meds the night before, and then said that she gave him his meds in the morning and it makes him tired. Those meds make him tired. That's a summary of what she said. So I want to make that known in case, they're listening. Like, that's a summary, but that's kind of what she said.
Okay.
I listen. I find that interesting that his medications. And so to answer your question, I don't know if they doubled them or didn't double them. I
Okay.
don't know that answer. She didn't say that, but she said she forgot to give the meds the night before. She gave them in the morning, and that he would get tired. And then she went into another thing saying that how sometimes he would drive his wheelchair and be so tired that he would veer it off into the road. I don't know if y'all heard that in the interview.
Yeah.
So why would you give
Just
him his
so y'all
medicine and
know.
then say have free reign to do whatever? Like I would keep a close eye on him and keep him, you know, the e-brake on. Like what are we doing?
Yeah. She said a lot.
Here,
Tamara, had you even ever heard about the medication thing until that interview?
Let me just say this. My mom and I listened to that interview together with our popcorn. No, I'm just kidding. No. But honestly, that's how I felt. I felt like I was watching, like hearing and I know that's sarcasm, but I felt like I was listening to a performance. And that was the statements. That was what came out of our mouths at the end. So no, I've not heard that version of the person that I knew for 17 years ever. Like I was flabbergasted by the story that was being told, which was fictitious, the insults about me, which were all fictitious. And I think some of y'all have watched my live with me and my mom, and you saw that I disproved, or I was able to show facts of what things really were, especially when she brought up the stuff about her daughter and I. That bothered me because it's not true. And but anyways, the whole thing was just bizarre. But as far as the medication goes, one thing I was glad of is that she admitted that she's the one that gives the medication.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. She admitted
but
to
also, I have
a
this one
few.
thing, and I want to say this because Nana to 10 says, why didn't she give him meds during the night so he could rest?
Right.
My follow-up question to that is, and then also, she's the one that said that she stayed on a mattress in front of or blow-up mattress or whatever in front of the couch. So if you're directly in front of somebody on the couch who cannot sleep because you forgot to give them their meds, then how are you sleeping? Are they sitting there staring at you? I mean, if she was that close to him and keeping an eye on him and this and that and the other, I'm confused as to there's a disconnect in my way of thinking on that.
I agree with you completely and wondered the same thing because which I think is bullshit, that she was not sleeping, and I think that at that point she purposely didn't give it to, allegedly, for many many of reasons. But I mean, just, and I hate to say this in front of Tamara, to torment him, just like they'd been tormenting him, just like I believe they tormented him on Sunday, which breaks my heart to have to say that in front of you, Tamara. But I think that with the medicine the next morning, and maybe that was another reason why she didn't give it to him, but sitting there laying beside him, knowing he can't sleep and needed it and was in pain and uncomfortable because of it, then that's, yeah, exactly what you said, Steph. I'm sorry. I agree. But that blows my mind. I don't believe that she was sleeping on the floor.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, Tamara, did you know of that? Did you ever know of her to do that? I mean, I knew that he'd been sleeping on the couch, you said, for quite some time at that point for comfort. But
I mean, he did sleep in the couch quite a bit because you could adjust it, like up and down, and it was easier that way. And I did know that she would sleep near him at times and stuff like that. But what stands out to me the most, I guess my feedback would be, how do you know if he stayed up all night long? And then, like you said, okay, for example, if he did try to wake her up multiple times in the night, right? And that's how she knew he was up, then just so y'all know, he also, he wasn't mentally incapacitated. So if he forgot his meds, I'm sure he could have said, like, hey, you forgot my meds. And so it's kind of like the whole story just doesn't make sense to me because, when I would go over to take care of Chris, like during the day to go hang out with him, or like he would call me and say, hey, can you pick me up some food? And I'll come and I would go over there and I would hand feed him like McDonald's or whatever he wanted. He would say, hey, Tam, I need to take my noon meds. Can you get them out of my bag? And I would go to his bag and I would get his medications out. And he would dictate what he needed. He would say, I need this one and I need this one. And then I would get it and I would put him in his mouth and give him a drink. Right. And so he knew what to do. So the whole thing just sounds odd to me.
You just blew my mind right there. The part where you said he knew that he had to take his meds. It's not that I know that he was completely capable of telling, but that didn't ever come to my mind of that he's completely 1000% dependent. He could tell her. So that's bullshit. All of it's bullshit. Like she's lying. She's lying. I think he took his med, or whether he did or didn't that night, but
I have to take
Well,
I have to
somebody
take an
Brought the
Ambien
meds
every
into
night.
question.
I have to take an Ambien every night, right? And so, and that's because I have neuropathy and I don't want to wake up like I'm getting tased out of nowhere. But anyway, so, but if I'm laying there and I've done it and I'm laying there and it's midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, why am I wide awake? Oh, dang, I forgot to take my Ambien. I've been laying there this whole time, thought I took it. I feel like he would have said something. Yeah.
Yeah.
or I can back up to that and say, hey, he was such a good guy, such an amazing man that he didn't want to wake her. Is
Lethal
that
asked in the chat if there was a tox screen done on Chris.
Well, I saw that. I'm so glad you brought that up because I wanted to answer that. So, no, they didn't do one on him. And in fact, if you look at the coroner's report, she didn't look at the video. She didn't talk to any witnesses. Like it says no, no. And then at autopsy, it says no. And then it says even the chair was returned. So nothing was evaluated. It was just like they took somebody's word at the scene and they just go, okay, this is what it is. Somebody else said something that I wanted to bring up. Somebody said, who was the guy that JP allegedly gave something to at the gate when Susie had come out of the gate and put her hand in the air and all that? There was a guy with her, and everybody kept saying it was a cop, but honestly, it was the guy who let Chris into the pool. That was who was with her. He had gone home and changed his clothes and met back up with her and went into that pool area, and then that was who was with. So that was who JP was meeting and talking to at the gate. So,
hello?
Interesting.
Hello?
Tamara, was that arm in the air thing? Is that something Susie always did?
well, that's really funny. My husband and I talked about that the other day. I find that interesting. I mean, again, Callie, I've never seen her do that before. But again, I will say she is a religious person, so it could just be her religious thing. What stands out to me the most is just, I guess what stands out to me the most is your husband passed, and even though you're religious and you want to pray for Chris and say, I hope he's gone to heaven, I hope Jesus, you take him, whatever it is. The movement of putting your hands in the air to praise when you see somebody, it's almost like it almost seemed excited, like you're like, I'm praising because I'm released. Like thank the Lord I'm released from my duties type of a thing. And that's kind of how my mom felt about it when she saw it. In fact, when my mom saw that section, my mom cried. She cried when she saw that. Because it validated what she saw at the funeral. And people, I don't know who's heard this, but at the funeral, my mom caught her laughing and high-fiving in the hallway on Chris's funeral day. And she called me that night crying and disturbed.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, we told the police. I think it was in my mom's interview with me as well. But the police, I don't know if y'all heard or not.
She was
But,
high-fiving JP,
but yeah.
wasn't she?
Yeah, they were laughing and giggling, and my mom called me later that night in such emotional. Y'all have no idea. She was in such an emotional pain that day. She called me and she was like, I am so like frustrated. And so then what you guys need to understand is that was the actual real day. That's what we saw. But then think about this, 3.5 years later, we see a video of her coming out of the pool after 3.5 years later. And then we see that movement and we're like, oh my God, it all makes sense now. You know what I mean? Like it was mind blowing. And then, this whole wedding thing, then you see her raise her hand before she goes to kiss him on the wedding day. Now, part of me feels like that was a scripted jab, like to make fun of everybody talking about the hand movement, like almost like that was planned out just to be at spite, And if that's the case, that just shows you their hearts even more. It just shows me that their hearts are gross.
I mean,
What do y'all think? I want to know in the chat. What do y'all think about the arm movement right before at the wedding, right before she goes to kiss? Do you think it was coincidental, or do you think that it was a planned thing to kind of mock and jab?
I think the whole, I'm just going to say this, I think the whole ceremony was a jab to us. All of us, y'all, everybody, anybody and everybody that doesn't align with with him and her.
I'm glad that you brought that up because my first reaction, having a child who beats to her own drum, I thought maybe it was a tick to where she got nervous or excited or overstimulated, that's just a tick. But everything you just said makes way more sense.
I'm sorry, I can't get over now hearing that they were high-fiving each other and laughing in the friggin' halls of his funeral.
You guys, we were in, listen to this. When we got there to the church, we went to this little like conference room area. We were all sitting in there, and guess who comes around the corner, bebopping, laughing, and cracking jokes while my mom and my dad and I and my sons and my husband were all sitting there, and he comes in, JP comes in, and he's like, hey, everybody, blah, blah, blah. And he's just like cracking jokes. He's acting like it's a fun day. And my family and I look around at each other and we're like, is this a funeral or like a celebration? And then, by the way, I heard this first sermon, or somebody showed me a clip of the sermon, the first one he just put out, like not the one that, not the good pastor, but the first one. And then he talks about that, but remember he talks about in that one about celebration, about how some people celebrate at people's funerals. And I was just like, look, and then remember he mocked, anybody hear it? And then he mocked in this sermon, the very first one he put out recently, he mocks people that grieve sadly. He starts mocking and going, some people go, oh, I can't get out of bed and I'm grieving. Why would you even make fun of anybody who's having a hard time after they lose somebody? That means if somebody's having a hard time after they lose someone, that means they had a deep personal heart connection to somebody. And that's not something to mock.
I'm sorry, Tamara. The fake crying and all of the BS grieving that he claimed he did after Micah, but then he says that. But he claims he couldn't get out of bed and he can't, he can't go anywhere and he just hardly can even live without Micah. But yet, then he said that in his sermon.
Right. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't think about that. And you know what? You are absolutely right. Like he did say all those things. So that's the problem. That's the problem with him. He doesn't make any sense. He just says stuff to say stuff and he just doesn't make any sense. And it shows what flows from his heart. And the fact that he would mock anybody who would have a hard time losing people. I mean, think about this, guys. He's supposed to be a pastor, and a pastor's supposed to be gentle and humble and care about people's hearts and feelings. He's not supposed to judge and be mean. Like it's horrible. It's horrible.
He in one sentence he talks ill, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say this first and foremost. At Chris's funeral was painful. The parts that I have been able to see were painful because now that we know what we know, because it felt like it was a fun celebration for him. He should have never been the one to preach it. He was having an affair with Chris's wife. And I'm not allegedly on that one. That's a fact. That's coming from me, so sue me. That's a fact. Okay. Then you've got sorry. Then you've got the way he did Micah's, the fake tears. But what was he doing at Micah's funeral? There's even that. Oh, I can't believe he. And Susie talks a lot too, and can't shut the hell up anymore either. He's rubbing off on her, or she's just that dumb. Hey, Ethan, I saw you come in the chat.
Well, I mean, I think for me, let them keep talking, because the more they talk, the more they bury themselves. I mean, they probably think in their pea-sized brain that they've gotten away with it and that they're not going to get caught, but they both are going to get caught. It's just going to take a little bit of time. He's not everyone in the chat. I agree with that. He's not a real pastor, and grievance comes in different aspects. Like my dad's been gone for 7 years now, and there's days that are harder on me than others. Um, but I'm not going to sit there. Like, we had a celebration of life for him because that's what he wanted. But I mean, we were all still sad sitting there. I wasn't high-fiving everybody and making jokes. Um, wow. That's just wow.
He also, I'm sorry, this bastard. He also, was the way that, just we'll use this as an example, the way that he put his, and still today puts down Micah. Okay, I would never put down and have never put down my deceased husband like that ever, and he still does that. But then cries about her, and then 5 seconds later he would do that. Okay, there's that. Then the way that we'll just talk about how he talked about Tamara. It is the people that he chooses to do that to. Susie is next.
Let me add to that. So yeah, he wrote co-wrote that little article about me saying all these horrible things. And listen to this. I actually gave him a lot of credit. I said, oh, it's all him and he's just a jerk. But then after I heard her interview, I was like, never mind. It's the two of them. And I honestly now know that she's behind that narration as well, because she carried that into her interview. And I keep reminding myself the interview she did was February 5th, which was before that article was made. So that means that was her opinion of me then. And therefore she fed that junk to him. And the two of them talked to that wonderful guy. And well, that's sarcasm, by the way. And they wrote that article about me. And you know what? If my brother knew, seriously, guys, Chris was always very protective of me. I can't tell y'all how many boyfriends he beat up when he could walk. And he was always very protective of me. And if he knew that they were doing that stuff, I mean, I just think about that all the time. Like, my brother would have jumped down his throat. Like, so it's just gross. And so now sadly, I've lost respect for somebody who I once had a lot of respect for, you know?
Talking about her. Is that
yes.
who you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying Susie now is unrecognizable to me. And the fact that her conduct in that interview and her saying all those things about me, and making up stuff like that, like, now I know, like, what type of character she has. I know that she's lacking character now. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes complete sense. And to hear you talk about your brother the way that you do, and the bonds that y'all had, put it that way, and the things. My brother is the same way, and he's my little brother. But a force to be reckoned with when it comes to me, no matter what, or my boys, you know. And so I can't imagine what Chris would do. And that's the thing, JP, you're still not the best man. You're still not the better man. And Susie, you're now you're the first lady, but you're not the only lady. So
You said you had to get off.
Well,
But when did you said earlier that you and that lady, I'm not gonna, she doesn't deserve to be called Susie. I don't know. I'll come up with a name of her. Just give me a minute. When did your relationship start changing for you? When did it start changing? Because you said y'all were close
well,
and all that. So when did it start changing for you?
are you talking about me and Susie?
Yes.
Okay, so let's put this in perspective. I'm glad you asked me that question. That was a great question. That's my favorite question out of all of them. So I want y'all to know, I want y'all to think about this. This is like great. I'm excited to answer this. So think about February 5th, and she's in the interview, and she's bashing me, right? Every 5 seconds, it feels like. Okay, now back up to November of 2024. So that would be what? November, December, January, and then she interviewed the first week in February. So 3 months. So back up 3 months to November. In November, she wrote me a text message that said that she loved me, that I've always been kind to her, always been a friend to her. She apologized to me, told me she didn't want to lose, like she didn't want me to be upset with her, like said all this kind stuff about me and about how I've always been kind to her, been a friend of hers. So think about how I feel from November. Then all of a sudden in February, she doesn't have a problem trashing me in an interview. And then think about in March, she doesn't have a problem writing an article with her boyfriend about me. So how do you go from saying all these nice things about someone that you've known for 17 years to now all of a sudden you're saying horrible things to the public everywhere? Why? So here's the answer to your question. The reason why she did it is because in November, towards the end of November, actually, I'm sorry, Chris's birthday is November 14th, for everybody that didn't know that. We always celebrate every year Chris's birthday, and we always eat. So if y'all know this, keep it on your calendar. November 14th, we always eat tacos in Mexican because Chris loved Mexican food for his birthday. And we normally do that with her and the kids. My mom and I were so fed up with her lies that we wrote her, we spent time with the children and we ate with them. That was the last time we were able to have a sit down with those children. And when we wrote her a message after that lunch and we told her we wanted space from her, that we wanted to continue to see the kids, but we wanted a break from her because I said everything that's going on in social media and everything we're learning, we just want a break. And we said it very kindly, very tactfully, and she decided to write back and say that we were not allowed to have contact with the children anymore, that we had to go through her and everything. And then she changed. And so from that moment, when we put a boundary up, that's when we were like the wicked witch of the East. That's when we are like the worst people on the planet because we put a boundary up. And, we had every right to put a boundary up. When you're lying and not being honest, it'd been, guys, you guys would have never met me had she had just been honest. I wrote her the day after Micah passed, and I said, please tell me, I said, I saw in the news that your friend passed, Micah. I thought it was her friend. And I said, I saw your friend Micah pass. I said, are you okay? Was she sick? Like, what was going on? Because I had no idea. And you know what she wrote me back?
I don't know.
I don't know. She wrote me back and said she didn't know anything about it. She didn't know. She literally wrote me back and told me she didn't know anything about it. And then keep in mind, 2 days later, so 4 days after she passed, I see pictures of them out together. So then I write her again. I said, well, what are these pictures? And in a nutshell, I'll end it with this. She ended up writing me back and saying, well, she started telling me about it. And then I said to her, I really wish you would have just told me this to begin with when I asked you. And her response was, I was trying not to have to tell you. That was her response.
Tell you about Micah.
Yeah, and that was a couple days after Micah passed, a week after Micah passed when she said that to me. So again, I still gave her grace, by the way. I still talked to her all the way from April 27th, 2024 up to November 2024. And that was when I finally put an end to it, because every question I asked, I was getting lies. And I was like, I'm not tolerating this anymore. So when I said y'all wouldn't have heard from me, you wouldn't have heard from me had she had just sat down with me and said, okay, let me just tell you, come clean about what's going on, right? If she would have just done that, I would have been in a different position. But all the lies caught up, and that's what got me to look. When I say this, guys, That's what got me to look into Chris's death, because in November, when I gave her a boundary, I said, something's not adding up. So then I went to Myrtle Beach Police Station in December, the beginning of December, and I asked for his whole file. So think about this. If she would have just been honest with me right after Micah passed, I wouldn't have even been prompted to go get Chris's file. So her lies is what caused me to go get his file. Does that make sense to everybody?
Just
All makes sense, and now all the stars have aligned, and now I understand the dynamic of everything. I just didn't know when it had changed, the relationship with between you and her had changed, but it does make sense. And I somebody had said it in the chat that you were catching on to her. And so as soon as you set up that boundary of, well, this don't make no sense. Nope, that don't make, what are you saying? Like I could just, like, me personally, if I was in your, I would just look at him and be like, what in the actual hell are you talking about? Because this is your quote unquote pastor who showed up when my brother passed away, but you know nothing about his wife who passed away. You're full of shit.
but see,
That's what you are.
It's funny because she talks about how the nurse told them. Remember, the nurse told them that this is what Micah did, and Micah had been to the stuff a nurse wouldn't know. Do y'all remember that? I think I've
Vaguely, yes. There's been a lot of information that I've
blood vessel, my forehead. I can't.
What do you mean the nurse? I'm confused. What you mean by that?
There's a statement that allegedly is from Susie, and it's way early on. Steph, help me out here. Celeste, I know y'all remember it. Callie, do you know what I'm talking about?
Is it the one about the devil playing chess? About Micah playing chess with the devil? I'm sorry.
Yes, it's in the okay. I have it. Tamara, that's something else I can.
It was like along the lines of she had to go to dinner with him because nobody else would, and he needed a friend. That one, right?
Oh, the one where she talks about this is how we knew. You know, we knew because this is what the nurse told us. Her.
Oh. I don't think I caught that.
The nurse sent. I'll send it. I'll share it. Actually, I have it. I looked at it today. Actually, it's actually in the video I made promoting this.
Oh, okay.
Promoting this live. Anyway, she knew that night that it happened.
She did. And I just want you to know, like, that I kept giving her the benefit of the doubt. I kept coming back to her. And then guess what got me the most? My son one day just happened. You guys, some people have met my son Brody on one of my lives, but one day Brody comes in and he hears me talking about this stuff and he says, Mom, did you know when I was going over there to visit in 2024 and 20, by the way, and 20, even before that, he said, you know, when I was going over to visit, that dude was over there all the time. And I said, what? And I said, what? And he goes, yeah. He said, I ate a spaghetti dinner with him. And I said, you never told me that. And he said, yeah, that one of the, and then he starts telling me. So guess what I do? I go and I circle back with her. And I said, hey, I am being told by my son that he sat there and ate dinner with this guy at your house. I was like, so, and guess what? I was still lied to. I was told we're just friends. It was just, you know, like, and I just got so tired of it. You know, I'm being real with y'all tonight. I just got really tired of hearing it because I knew it wasn't true.
Just to circle back around to the spaghetti, Steph knows likes this one. Are you sure it wasn't one of the nights they had spaghetti with them, the night that Micah
man.
Because
I was just thinking that.
Because JP claims that he don't remember the detective's name or that called him or that he called back or how it even happened. He just remembers throwing up the spaghetti and what it looked like.
Yeah. I think there might be a throwback graphic somewhere. Hold on a minute.
There is. There's got to be. Celeste, you remember that? Well,
Remember that actually.
you don't remember the spaghetti? It's in our group chat from way at the beginning.
Um,
He
remind
says it on
me.
like News Nation too in his
Oh, he
interview.
does. He says it
Oh
on.
Yeah,
yes, that he was.
he does.
Yes, I do
He's,
remember that now.
but here's the thing about him and the way he lies, allegedly, and her and the way that she lies, allegedly, in my opinion, they add a lot of unnecessary detail. And eventually, some of that detail involves the truth.
I agree. I agree. He said it was red.
I just think.
Go ahead, babe.
Sorry.
No, I was just reading that. Go ahead, babe.
I would just think, listen, guys, I just feel that even, okay, let's just say they had an affair. Okay, I'm going to say that. And I'm going to say allegedly for my safety, even though I kind of know more than the average bear here. But I want you to know, why not? Why can't they just come out and say, you know what? Yeah, we did. We made a mistake. You know, we did this. Like, why? This has just turned into bigger, like, you know, that snowball effect, like bigger and bigger and bigger, because two people can't just say, you know what, you're right, we did, so what, we love each other, this is what we want to do. Why can't they do that? Why? Because something else, like you said, there's something else to it. And why else? I mean, why? If it was me, I would just be like, you know what, I want to be done with all this, so yeah, I own up to it. Okay, everybody knows. Okay. But for some
Because
reason,
they're narcissists and they have to look like the great people. That is why.
There it is. Y'all remember that?
did y'all know? Somebody brought this to my attention. Speaking of narcissists, did y'all know that June 1st was Narcissistic Awareness
I
Day?
did. I saw it. Not June 1st, but I saw it. I didn't know that on June 1st, but I saw it. You know how Facebook has the timelines, and you'll see something that happened a month ago, but it looks like it happened today. I saw it not too long ago, and
I will
that's
mark
the
it on my calendar so I can send it to my
first
ex-husband, send him
person
a
I thought
present
of.
on that day.
Well, I mean, like, was that planned too? Because
Holy
he's
shit! It was a wedding day.
Yeah, it was a wedding day. So did he do that on purpose too? Because he wanted to like make fun of that because people call him that. I mean, it was on National Awareness Day for Narcissists. Narcissism Awareness Day,
The
June 1st.
narcissist getting married.
And I know this because I'm a mental health therapist, so I know this, right?
You're amazing. You are absolutely amazing, Tamara. That's crazy. No, I didn't realize that either.
This is a little graphic I put together
Look at it.
when that interview came out, where he says, I think it was something red he threw up, maybe spaghetti.
Oh.
Oh, he's a sick. You know what? And why? And why do that? You know? Why even say that? Why go into that much detail?
Hi.
Hi, Amber.
Hi. My husband was taking forever at Walmart and my phone was about to die.
Well, welcome back.
No.
I love Amber.
Well,
Do anybody? I know Tamara's got to get going soon. Does anybody want to come up and ask her any questions if she can answer, or Miss Callie or anybody, anything? Because again, this has been a very informative live. It was. I love that.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm going to have to hop off of here in a minute too. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all.
We love you. We love having you and Miss Tamara both on. I don't do feet. Oh, I love it, but I don't.
Okay, I'll take it down. They talked me into it in the comments. Hold on a minute. You can take me off big screen.
Oh,
My entire life, Steph.
oh.
My entire life, Steph. Without singing that again. Now I'm going to have nightmares. Thank you so much, Steph.
I'm totally traumatized.
And those are the worst. I don't do feet, but I damn sure don't do those feet. Oh my gosh, they don't even
I'm
look
gonna
right.
have to go see Tamara for some PTSD. Like, what are we doing?
What
Yeah.
is it? What are those? What is it? Is it
I think well, I'll have to do a trauma bond session for everybody, group therapy.
Yeah.
you know the
That's the
chimpanzee
last on the big screen. Look.
the chi-
Just make sure you put your Cash App or your Venmo up so we can actually pay you like a therapist.
Well, listen, somebody said something about that they loved my strength, and I wanted to say thank you to Stacy for saying that. But I will say, for everybody listening, I am still working on some very important things, and I can't disclose what those are, but just pray for me because I'm a prayer. Pray for me because I'm open to make an impact because I'm not done. I'm not done. And just because it's been quiet lately on Chris' end doesn't mean that I'm not working because I'm working pretty hard. And so, y'all will see one day what I mean by this. But again, I don't like to give. Speaking of chess, you guys, ha ha ha. I'm gonna be a chess player, and I'm not gonna make my move yet. But I'm working. I'm
we
working.
believe you and trust you and are 1,000,000% behind you. I know everyone in this live and on
Yeah,
this is.
absolutely. I was about to say that you know that you have everybody here behind you, and whatever we can do to help you, just reach out, and we'll do anything and everything we can to make sure that you get the support you need as well. And also, I say this very kindly and I don't want to hurt no one's feelings, but remember to take time for yourself. You're doing a lot and you're exerting a lot of energy, but don't pour out so much that you can't take care of yourself as well. And I mean, being a therapist, you know that, but do something for yourself and
Yeah.
also take care of your mental health along with fighting for your brother's justice.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate that. You know what I do to pamper myself? I get massages, and I'll go and I'll get. I had one a couple days ago, and I enjoy that very much. And but you are absolutely right. Sometimes I need to limit the number of questions as well. I'm just kidding.
Not you, man.
I'm like, all right, I got 10 questions and maybe 5 extra.
I'm just. Honestly, I hope you
No,
know
you're
I am
fine.
just playing with you. I really am
No,
playing
you're
with you.
good.
But I did see a question in real quickly. Somebody asked me about the coroner. The coroner's office is not done yet. I was told that a week ago they acknowledged again that they're still open, and again, they did send the stuff to the FBI. So I'm just waiting patiently on that. Callie, do you have an update on that as well? Have y'all checked in with them just to see, or?
No, I don't have an update on that.
Okay. Well, that's my update. And guess what, guys? Even if they try to say they ain't open, guess what? I'm working on something, so we ain't gonna let it sit still. I promise you.
And that's another thing. All of us doing these lives and going on, my panel, Steph's panel, anybody's panel, and doing this and keeping Chris's name alive and out there for you and with you is what we're going to be doing. And I know Miss Callie is your ride or die.
I try. Fate brought us together. The thing is, this determination by the coroner, this is not about, is it murder? This is about, it is not an accident. This is absolutely not an accident. So they need to call it something else. It'd be nice if they had
Well, not to.
a thorough investigation that would back a conclusion that we could all believe in. But I think it doesn't take a genius to figure out it's not an accident.
Let's see.
Well, and I'm gonna add to that. Definitely, it's not an accident. Definitely, the manner of death needs to be corrected, regardless of whatever it's corrected to. I want everybody to focus on the fact that Chris, honestly, was the lover of people in life, and he really was. And what would cause him to crash to any level, if that ends up being the manner of death, what would cause him to crash like that? Because I want y'all to focus on that. And, the coercive control thing is real. And if you think about it, okay, this is from a mental health therapist perspective, what I'm about to tell you. So anytime you have anybody around you, family, friends, that are in a dark place, you don't sit around and have conversations about suicidal ideations as if it's a normal conversation.
No.
You don't sit with your loved ones. You don't say, hey, yeah, I know you want a heavenly body that's healed. Hey, you don't say those things because that normalizes the thoughts to go, and you don't do that, and that's coercion in my opinion, to tell somebody it's okay because God's going to heal you, and you're telling that to somebody that's in a dark mental health spot. You don't do that. So I just want everybody to know that piece, and that to me is what I'm focused on. I'm focused on why would he do something like that, if that was the case, right? Why would he do that? Well, there's factors. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
complete sense.
psychological
And I agree.
homicide that we're talking about.
Yes,
And there are people who've become good at the behaviors that are involved with that.
Yeah. And I think that, man, it's just I can't even tell you guys. I tried so hard to advocate for Chris that summer, and I get really burned up, and I try not to, but I get burned up when I see those cyber bullies going on and on, going, where's Chris's family when he was having these horrible thoughts? Well, guess what? We were there, and guess what? I'm vocal, so I was vocal about it. And honestly, I don't live with him. So who does live with him? And who is with him, who should be watching over him and making sure he doesn't do something silly, right? Like somebody, and so we all know who that person is because she declared it in her interview of who she is and who's the caretaker. So to me, I want everybody to focus on that,
absolutely. Absolutely.
But anyway,
No,
well, thank you guys for letting me on here and letting me yip yap tonight. I hope everybody has a wonderful
Thank you, Tamara, for
weekend.
coming
we
in
want to
and
thank you.
taking
We
all
want
my
to thank you.
questions.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome.
If you have anything that, like, I'm gonna send my stuff that I told you I send you tonight through Miss Callie, if that's okay. The couple of things I said I would.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Tamara.
Sure, that'd be great. All right, thank you guys. Have
You
a
too,
good night.
sweetie. Thank you. Good night.
Hey, I'm gonna sign off too,
Thank
but
you,
I really
Callie.
appreciate the opportunity,
No,
and y'all are just great. I'm glad you guys spend so much time thinking about this and working through it and thinking about the details because it's really important.
well, you're my favorite person in the world, so.
Wow,
Even,
Oh,
that's
and I just
hurtful,
said that in
you.
front of a lot
Wow.
of people that aren't going to like that. No, I'm playing. I adore you, Callie. Thank you again for coming up.
Misty, I thought I was your favorite
Thank
person.
you.
That hurt. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I love y'all. I do.
you guys take care. God bless. We will talk
All right,
soon.
Miss Kelly,
Okay,
have a
sweetie.
good night.
Good night.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Right, Celeste? She just called all of us out. We ain't nothing to her.
I
She
love
said,
y'all. But she is definitely one of my favorite people. I should have said one of, not my favorite,
"Oh,
but she's one
you
of. And
can't take it back now. You done did
I
said it."
do, I do love her to death. She's awesome, and so is Miss Tamara.
I'm gonna go to my corner without my juice box and cry now.
Y'all crazy.
I do
Y'all
have to jump
crazy.
off
That
as
was
well.
such a good.
I gotta go pick up my kid from the church. I appreciate everybody. Uh, everybody
Well,
have a good night.